Welcome back to Want Picks. I'm Martin MMA, and I'm going to be breaking down week number 9 of the 2025 Contender Series card. Of course, last week I did have a little bit of a bounce back week. It wasn't a perfect card by any means. I did get 2 fights wrong, but in those 2 fights, I did say that if they lost, they were going to lose by round 1 KO. So at least the breakdown was correct. But to be fair, if you do the tape study, you can't really mess up a breakdown. It's just kind of difficult to really put that tape study together with a pick. And in my opinion, week number 9 is a pretty good example of that being relatively difficult, because when I first looked at this card, I thought on paper it was going to be pretty easy to pick, but the more and more I looked into the fights, the less and less confidence I got. And I feel like the perfect sort of example of that is this matchup here against Donavon Hedrick, as he has stepped in on very short notice against Felipe Diaz. This fight is taking place. Tapology has it listed at 170 pounds. But I do believe Hedrick and Diaz have both had fights at middleweight recently, even though Felipe Diaz hasn't fought for 2 years. So that's definitely something to look forward to. But Donavon Hedrick, he has stepped up on short notice. He is 6-0 as a professional. He did also go 5-0 as an amateur. And all of his professional fights that I watched went nearly exactly the same. His opponents would come out there and for some reason try to take him down, and then he would take them down, and he would ground and pound them out, or he would submit them. He had some performances, in my opinion, that were more impressive than others. The fight against Franklin Torres is really odd. Torres got a takedown on him, but knocked himself out on his hip as he took down Hedrick, which was odd. But honestly, the thing is, you could see it coming, because even before then, Torres charged in for a takedown against Hedrick with his neck way out there. So yeah, it's a very bad shame that Torres knocked himself out. But another fight as well, the more recent one, of course, is Daniel Cooper. And in this matchup too, Daniel Cooper tried to take him down, got him down, and then Hedrick was on top control, and then Cooper was able to stand up once or twice in that matchup. So I don't love his top control either for Hedrick, and the problem is, because he really is not fighting good competition at all, a lot of the time he does find full mount, or he finds mount in some sort of way, and he rains down ground and pound on all of these guys that just shell up, and he wins by TKO. So he's never had to face any adversity in his professional career, which is a little bit concerning to me, because he is taking on a guy that, if he doesn't have anything else, he does have experience. This is a guy with 20 professional fights. He was, at one point, a relatively interesting prospect. I mean, he did beat Benito Antunes, who did fight on the Contender Series against Umalatov last year, and also Wendell Oliveira is a guy that has fought a lot of prospects himself. Mario Sosa has fought in the Contender Series like 4 times, but I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. As for Diaz, he does have a black belt in BJJ, but aside from that, I don't think he really does offer that much. I wasn't impressed with his striking. I wasn't really impressed with his wrestling either. His ability to get the fight down to the ground isn't that strong, and he can get taken down himself. I mean, Luis Cado and especially Marcin Bandel were able to do this, and Bandel was able to just camp in his guard for 3 rounds without really getting in any tough situation, aside from maybe the 3rd round when he was a bit more tired and Diaz was starting to let his hands go a little bit more. But the thing is, Diaz just doesn't really offer a lot of danger on the feet, in my opinion, and I really haven't seen much of Hedrick striking at all. But from what I did see from Hedrick, it did look like his striking looked okay. But once again, I do just want to emphasize, this guy's got 6 professional fights and maybe 5 minutes of combined professional tape. There's not much on him at all. But the thing about Diaz is, he hasn't fought for 2 years. He looks bad in the fights that he does fight. So if Hedrick really does have some sort of skill, and he does have some sort of game plan just to avoid the submissions of Diaz, I do think he should win this fight if he can fight smart and just kind of avoid the guard that Diaz is going to be trying to throw up submissions for. So this is a very low confidence fight. There's not really much evidence to back up the Hedrick pick, but in my opinion, Diaz also, he's 1-2 aside from this fight here in his last 3 fights, and he hasn't fought in 2 years. So very odd. I will say one thing though, I'm very curious about the weigh-ins, because Felipe Diaz, he doesn't look like this anymore. His shoulders have tripled in size, and his lats have probably quadrupled in size. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. There has been some line movement on this fight. It did open dead even, and right now, the odds are still dead even, actually. So, yeah, I'm not really too sure about this fight, genuinely. It is just a low confidence pick, but I am going to pick Hedrick because it is a Diaz fade for me. And now the most interesting sort of line movement, I would say, that has occurred on this card is Lucas Caldas, as he does take on Magomed Zaynukov. And Magomed Zaynukov opened up as a minus 1100 favorite. I have a screenshot from earlier today, which has Magomed Zaynukov as a minus 550 favorite. And now he's a minus 515 favorite. So money is coming on Lucas Caldas. And in my opinion, that does make a lot of sense. I just don't really see why Zaynukov would be such a big favorite. Now, to be fair, I am going to be picking Zaynukov to win this matchup, but he doesn't necessarily fight in a way that would make you think that he's going to be a massive favorite over Caldas, because Caldas is a very dangerous striker. He's got a lot of power in his hands. He does have professional kickboxing and Muay Thai experience. And the thing about Caldas as well is he should be undefeated, because to start with, the referee should have stopped this fight earlier. And secondly, it's his illegal stomps. He stomped the body of Gomez. So I don't know if the referee just didn't like Caldas, but this is just a bad call by the referee in general. But he does have a lot of power in his hands. He's a very aggressive fighter. He also is very hittable. I just don't think that he has good defense at all, which might be what the odds makers have been basing these odds on, because Magomed Zaynukov is a two-time IFMA World Muay Thai champion, and he also is a World Muay Thai Council Intercontinental champion. So this guy has won Muay Thai World Championships twice and as an amateur, and he has been a bronze medalist 4 times as a Muay Thai fighter, and he does have a Muay Thai record of 18 wins and 3 losses according to Wikipedia. Now, Zaynukov does fight like a Muay Thai guy. He's got his hands very low. Carlos Prater's style, I would almost say. He kicks the legs a lot. He throws up a lot of knees. He can be quite aggressive in the clinch, as he was against Shakmar Sadigov. But against William Poles, this is a bit of a red flag matchup, because William Poles is he's really bad at striking. You know, he's only really thrown one-off big overhands, and Zaynukov wasn't able to really put it on him, able to punish him necessarily. And in that matchup, we even saw William Poles take down Zaynukov a couple of times in the first round. Now, Zaynukov did eventually start to offensively wrestle himself, but it didn't really give me a lot of confidence, especially when he is taking on, in my opinion, a much, much better striker than William Poles here. The thing about this matchup, though, is I do still think that Zaynukov is the better striker. I didn't see much grappling, if any, out of Caldas at all. And I do believe that if times get tough, Zaynukov can shoot for takedowns and make this fight kind of more of a wrestling heavy fight. But as I did say, he's not really a wrestler. He is a Muay Thai world champion after all. But I am going to pick Zaynukov here. I don't think that the odds at minus 500 are still justified. I think this fight is actually pretty close. In fact, I was considering picking Caldas just based on the fact that I do think that Caldas is much more aggressive than Zaynukov. And I also think that Caldas hits a lot harder than Zaynukov, but I do think that Zaynukov is the more UFC-ready fighter, and I am going to pick the more UFC-ready fighter in this matchup, but I do think we could see Caldas come back. Again, the pick is Zaynukov here in this matchup. Rafael Pergentino fights against Luke Fernandez. Now, I don't know if you guys would have seen it, but there was a clip that went somewhat viral on Sean Bitter's Twitter of Rafael Pergentino's MMA debut. So in this card here against Luis Rodriguez, he is fighting in the corner of a gym. It's not a cage. It's the corner of a gym. The referee is wearing board shorts. I don't even know if he is a referee. He looked like just a guy to me that they pulled in off the crowd. And the ring girl has dwarfism as well. And the commentary are making some pretty crude comments about her. It was just a very, very odd experience watching this fight. And honestly, the fight itself was a bit nothing. He didn't look very good at all. Now, this was in 2023 and he has fought since, but I haven't really seen anything about Pergentino that makes me think that this guy is a UFC level fighter, or could be a UFC level fighter between May and October. So I do think, just kind of based on that, I have to side with Fernandez. Fernandez is so much more proven. He is a Cage Fury FC champion. He does have decent wins, especially a win over Christian Edwards, who is a former Bellator prospect, a guy that did fight and beat a couple guys in Bellator. And aside from that, just in general, better wins, really. A lot of really early finishes by knockout. He's got professional grappling experience as well on the outside of MMA against Phil Hawes, against Eric Anders. These are UFC guys. 6-0 amateur career. Now, I don't think that Fernandez is a perfect prospect by any means. I think that his striking definitely could be improved. He definitely is more, in my eyes, a wrestler grappler sort of prospect at 205 pounds. His striking does leave a bit to be desired in the striking defense side, but I don't think that Pergentino is going to be able to catch him. And I also don't think that Pergentino has more than 3 minutes of cardio. So as long as Fernandez can maybe just make the first round sort of sloppy with some clinch work, with some takedowns, I think we could see Fernandez just take over either in the first round and just knock him out, or maybe in the second round and knock him out. I'm picking Fernandez for a very early finish. He also did go 5 rounds against Christian Edwards in that matchup too. I'm picking Fernandez. I'm picking Fernandez by KO. He's my highest confidence pick on the card. Now, Adrian Luna Martinetti is taking on Mark Vologdin. I am actually going to be picking Adrian Luna Martinetti as the underdog here. He was plus 110 earlier on in the day, and at the time of me recording this video, he is also plus 110, but it looks like the odds may have flipped a little bit. It looks like on my bookie, right now at the time of recording, he is minus 130, so maybe money is coming in on Martinetti, but he is the pick, and at the time of me recording, he's an underdog on Bet Online anyway. I think that Martinetti is just a little bit more well-rounded, but the thing about Vologdin is he is going to be a lot more aggressive. Mark Vologdin is tiny for this weight class. He's 5'5" at bantamweight. I do believe he could make 125 pounds, and he has looked really small in his matchups at bantamweight, especially against Ricardo Monteiro. He just looked tiny, man. But the thing about Vologdin that I think that Martinetti lacks is the aggression. He will be coming forward and he will be looking to box with boxing combinations once he does close the distance. He does have a little bit of grappling as well, but for the most part, he is just kind of a very aggressive, come forward pressure fighter that is going to be throwing those boxing combinations on the feet. Adrian Luna Martinetti is a bit different. He's going to be a lot taller here. He is 5'8". He likes to kick from range. The thing about him, though, is he can be pretty low volume on the feet, which I think could be concerning coming into a matchup against Vologdin, who is going to be pressuring, who is going to be throwing combos. But I think as long as Martinetti just doesn't find himself getting caught on the feet by Vologdin, I think he should be able to find some kicking success. And I think as well, he is going to hold a grappling advantage because that is Martinetti's best skill set, in my opinion, is his BJJ. Now, his wrestling isn't fantastic, and Vologdin being 5'5" and actually pretty wide build, he definitely has like quite a strong sort of base. Might be a difficult guy for him to take down, but I do think if he can get the takedowns, I think that there is a pretty significant grappling advantage on the Martinetti side. So I am going to be picking Martinetti to eventually wear on the significantly smaller fighter here and find a submission in round number 2 or round number 3. So I'm picking Martinetti, and he's a very slight underdog at the time of me recording this video. And now we can move up to the main event. And in my opinion, this is a fight which I was very surprised by the odds, because Imanol Rodriguez is a minus 250 favorite over Roque Jr., and he still is a minus 250 favorite over Roque Jr. Now, I was not familiar with Roque at all before I did do my tape study, and I will say this guy is really good. In fact, he's a lot better than I expected him to be because, of course, Imanol Rodriguez was on the Ultimate Fighter Season 33, and I did think that they were just going to try and give him sort of a layout fight because he was, in my opinion, robbed against Joseph Morales. Now, I don't use that word very often at all, but I just don't know how two judges gave Morales the third round when Rodriguez did, you know, have that rear naked choke set up. But anyways, Roque Jr., very good boxer, and in my opinion, a more technical boxer than Rodriguez as well. And I also think that you could argue, man, that this guy could be 11-1 because this was a bad decision, dude. Dennis Araujo, aside from some grappling success in the second round, didn't do anything but back up and just take Roque Jr.'s strikes. So I'm not too sure how they scored that for Araujo. Even the comments on that fight on YouTube also thought that Araujo lost the fight, but since then he's been on a 3-fight finish streak and he's been looking pretty good. Junior is a boxer for the most part, I would say. He does find a lot of success fighting behind a jab, fighting behind straight punches, but the thing about him is I do worry a little bit if he does start to fight Imanol Rodriguez fight, because Imanol Rodriguez is a very, very scrappy brawler, and what he wants to do is he wants to go in there and he wants to throw his combinations. He wants to try and knock you out. He's a lot less technical than Junior when he really just starts to let his hands go, but it has been quite effective, and we did see against Joseph Morales him put up a very impressive performance, and he showed a lot more grappling in that matchup than we had seen on the regional scene as well, and Morales went on to have a fantastic performance against Alabi Adriz as well. So that's a really good performance, whether or not you think he won the fight or not. So I do think that I'm going to be picking Imanol Rodriguez here. I think eventually this fight's going to turn into a scrap, and I think that Rodriguez is going to be favored in a brawl like that, and if he really needs to, we could see Rodriguez find some grappling success as well, because as I did say, I did see Roque Jr. taken down by Dennis Araujo, and we did just see Rodriguez find some grappling success against Morales, who just out-grappled Alabi Idris and found a lot of success on the feet against him as well, actually. So I think that I like Rodriguez. I like the fact that he trained at the Ultimate Fighter as well for a few months, because that does mean that he's got some really good high-level sort of training behind him, aside from what he was doing on the professional scene as well. So I'm going to pick Rodriguez. I think eventually he's going to wear on Junior, and he's going to get a late finish in the second or the third round by knockout. Let me know what you think of those predictions, and I'll see you guys in the next one.